Welcome to Foro Politico. My name is Marcos Palma. Thank you for joining us. Today we will talk about the latest from this presidential election 2016. After Mr. Donald Trump got the Republican nomination, he keeps repeating the same proposals that he got in June when he launched his presidential campaign. His ideas have created those divisions not only on his own party, but have created too much hate between the American people. We have seen mainly in California where hundreds of protesters in Anaheim, in Costa Mesa, in Fresno, in San Diego, people are refusing to have these men here in California. We acknowledge that there is people supporting him, but there's only few, those ones that are not educated, those who hate themselves, those who doesn't want immigrants, those who doesn't want Muslims, those who does not want minorities, those who doesn't want the increase of the minimum wage, and also those who cannot think by themselves. In the last 2 weeks, we have seen too much violence in those rallies. But guess what? This is not a solution to repudiate this Republican nominee. People are afraid about his proposals. For example, he wants to repeal the Obamacare, build a wall in the border with Mexico, and Mexicans, they have to pay for it. He wants to renegotiate the trade with China, a country that is our #1 commercial partner. You can see, for example, when you go to the Walmart stores, most of their items are from that country. Renegotiate with them after that we help them to come out from socialism. We have good relations already. For example, look cities like Los Angeles or San Francisco. We do not need another trade. That one that we have is working. Mr. Trump said that we are the third world country. Yes, we are a kind of nation, but only when we talk about the huge inequality that we have right now, where the rich is more rich and every day the poor is getting poorer. Fix that first, Mr. Trump, and be more specific about how to fight poverty in this country. Talk about issues that we care and stop telling the Secretary of the State crook. If you are a real leader, stop blaming the media for your past history. You will be scrutinized every single day and every single night. This is our job. We make questions, like it or not. One of those things that are very interested about Mr. Trump is the number of litigations that he has faced. Between them is the fraud for the Trump University. This case will start on November 28, and the Republican candidate will be called to testify. By the way, he called the judge a Mexican. His name is Gonzalo Curiel. He has Mexican blood, but he was born in Indiana. He is more American than Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump called him a disgrace, shameful, hostile, and hater because the judge did not dismiss this case. After that, the Trump team is blaming this judge because he supposedly belonged to the La Raza, lawyers from San Diego, a group of people that helps minorities. Thank you for joining us today. We will have Mr. Figueroa, an advocate for Latinos. We will have Victoria Baca, a Democrat that is running for the Moreno Valley Council. And we have also Carlos Santana, that he has a program here with us in TVC Latino. His show is Latino Talk. I want to welcome all of you. Thank you very much, Mr. Santana, Mr. Figueroa, and also Mrs. Baca.
Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, I met you, Mrs. Baca.
Yes.
I know that you're running for the council member in Moreno Valley.
I am.
Tell us, what did you decide to run for that position in Moreno Valley? What problems do we have in Moreno Valley?
Well, currently, I think that the most important problem that we have and that needs to be resolved is the lack of jobs for the residents of Moreno Valley. We have a disbalance. We have too many housings. At one time, Moreno Valley was one of the fastest growing cities as far as homes, and now we're lacking jobs. A lot of our residents are commuting and it takes about 20 minutes just to leave Moreno Valley to go to our neighboring city, Riverside, on the 60 freeway. So we have too many people that are commuting, and we need more local jobs, and that's what I've been working for, and it's not what I'm going to do, but what I've been doing.
Besides jobs, what about the security? What about the violence? What about the gangs?
Well, I think that we have a very safe city compared to other neighboring cities. The crime per capita is not way high, but like all cities, we have problems, and we need more money as far as, businesses, so that we can have tax revenue, so we can have more police officers, so that we can have more fire department personnel. And just like most cities, we have to have revenue. And the revenue is taxes that these large companies pay.
Now talking about this presidential election, we had three candidates, Mr. Trump, Mr. Sanders, and Secretary Clinton in Southern California. And we have seen lately that there is a lot of protesters, a lot of manifestations, mostly in Mr. Trump rallies. We have seen some people bringing the Mexican flags or bringing the Latin American flags. Do you think that gives more importance to Mr. Trump? Or should the people start bringing those Mexican flags to those rallies?
Well, first and foremost, they have the First Amendment right. Whether that makes it right is another thing. They need to realize we are in the United States. I've been to many rallies where they have the Irish flag, where they have the British flag, the British pound they call it, where they have, different holidays. They have the African American flags. I mean, but there's nothing wrong with it. Having it at the wrong time and place gives it a different meaning. And what we have to do is, if they were carrying the American flag alongside of it, because I know a lot of veterans, Marines and others, that carry both flags. They were even posting them while they were in Iraq. American flags with Mexican flags, because there were over 15,000 Mexican Americans serving in the armed services, fighting in Iraq at various times. They got no credit. So was it right? Well, does it give Donald Trump credibility? Yeah, it does a little. But as far as the protest, Donald wants to protest. It brings him TV to say, hey, what's going on? So Donald Trump provokes the communities he's in. He makes outrageous comments toward others. He does it on purpose to draw the protest, to bring the cameras and say, Trump's here again. And like Stephen Hawkins recently said, he appeals to the lowest common denominator in people and is bringing that out. And he's dumbfounded. The smartest man in the world said he's dumbfounded to explain the Trump phenomenon.
Then, Mr. Santana, do you think that these kind of protesters, they're helping instead of attacking Mr. Trump? Because when we have those protesters on the streets, the cameras goes to them. Everybody's facing on them. CNN, MSNBC, folks there, the cameras are over there.
Exactly. Donald Trump is the master manipulator. He knows that's what's going to happen. And actually, he provokes that all the time because he knows he will work in his favor because he's going to attract a lot of cameras. I mean, he's not paying for all the television that he's getting old. It's outrageous. He's using every issue on his favor, and that's one of them. And that's unfortunate that we could do something else. In addition to that, we can show some power too. If we stop purchasing items for just one day across the United States.
Are we watching freedom of speech or hate speech when Mr. Trump is talking about those divisions, about Muslims, about Mexico, about the Senator McCain?
While we were talking about Trump exercising his right to freedom of speech, he appears to limit the freedom of speech of the press, to ask the questions, the freedom of voters to express themselves, their opinion at his rallies. So we may be, if he gets elected, experiencing an attack on our First Amendment, attack on our free speech, and I believe he will attack the Second Amendment once he's elected because he's going to fear people revolting against him.
I agree, and I think that when you hear about the Mexican flag, there are a lot of people that are against that, but I believe that people bring the Mexican flag because of their culture, not because of allegiance to Mexico. And that's something that's very different with us. For example, when Cesar Chavez was marching, he had the UFW flag and the Virgen de Guadalupe. And you had a lot of people following because a lot of people were Catholic.
What should explain to the white people about bringing the Mexican flags or the Latin American flags? What would be the explanation to them?
I think that it's culture. It's something cultural. And what they're saying is, Donald Trump, yes, I'm Mexican, and I have, as an American, the right to carry this flag. But I don't believe that it's allegiance to Mexico.
Is that because Mr. Trump mentioned Mexico?
Yes,
Mexicans?
absolutely.
Is that what people try to say?
Absolutely.
Stop it saying what you're saying?
Yes, because he's talking about immigrants, but then he says Mexicans are rapists, Mexicans are criminal. He doesn't say all the immigrants. He just says Mexicans. And, we're the largest group in the United States when it comes to immigrants. But you also have to remember that the Southwest at one time belonged to Mexico, and you have people that have been here, like my family, Steve's family. We've been here for hundreds of years. We were indigenous at one time, then we were conquered by the Spaniards, and we've been here forever. We've never been, off the land. So it's like the old saying, we didn't cross the border crossed us. So you have a large concentration of Mexicans that are American citizens and have been on the land for many, many years, decades.
Could you mention Mr. Cesar Chavez, the founder of the UFW, that fought for rights for the farm workers? You were leading the civil rights movement when the Latinos were discriminated in the schools, in the fields, in the work jobs, and maybe you saw violence in those times. Now, do you see any difference with what we're seeing right now in Mr. Trump's rallies, where people they're protesting against him and then having violence?
I believe that a lot of people that are at these rallies and that do use violence are Mr. Trump's, people that are provoking the demonstrators, and all of a sudden, you see violence, but it's Donald Trump's people.
Mr. Figueroa, you lived that violence because you were fighting for, you advocated for Latinos' rights and all the civil rights movements. What things did you see in the past that now you're seeing right now?
If you go back in history, whether it's the Pachuco riots, it was the Americans going into the Latino communities to fight them. If you go into the Cesar Chavez movement, it was the Riverside sheriffs. It was the sheriffs in the Central Valley that were beating up the protesters, non-violent protesters.
That would be the message. That would be the message, Mr. Sen. No violence.
No violence.
What is the alternative?
And there still is the message.
What would be the alternative?
Our people are not going there and attacking anybody.
People, what would be the alternative instead of violence? Boycott?
Well, violence begets violence. We're not promoting violence. And like I said, I don't believe that it's the protesters that are there.
Would you
to
favor
be violent.
a boycott, for example?
Absolutely.
Don't visit those hotels. Don't visit those businesses that support Mr.
That
Trump.
worked.
Absolutely.
Remember the Wilson days when
it.
we protested against Safeway and Vons.
In the Cesar Chavez, we protested against Coors.
Grapes.
And it was very, and grapes and others, and it was very successful. I boycott Aries Hotels, okay? A supporter of KFI Radio. I totally support
I'm going to ask you a favor. We have to stop because we have to take a quickly break. Please stay with us. You are watching Foro Politico. When we come back, we're going to show those Republicans they're voting for the Secretary Clinton.
Trump's ideas aren't just different. They are dangerously incoherent. They're not even really ideas, just a series of bizarre rants, personal feuds, and outright lies. He is not just unprepared. He is temperamentally unfit to hold an office that requires knowledge, stability, and immense responsibility. This is not someone who should ever have the nuclear codes, because it's not hard to imagine Donald Trump leading us into a war just because somebody got under his very thin skin. We cannot put the security of our children and grandchildren in Donald Trump's hands. We cannot let him roll the dice with America. This is a man who said that more countries should have nuclear weapons, including Saudi Arabia. This is someone who has threatened to abandon our allies in NATO, the countries that work with us to root out terrorists abroad before they strike us at home. He believes we can treat the U.S. economy like one of his casinos and default on our debts to the rest of the world, which would cause an economic catastrophe far worse than anything we experienced in 2000.
You're watching Foro Politico. I have to tell you that Mr. Trump is not a real Republican. He used to sympathize with the Democrats, and now he's a Republican nominee. He said that millions support him, but the truth is that some Republicans will vote for Hillary.
What happens to the Republican Party if Donald Trump becomes a president?
That's a scary prospect.
So scary to lifelong Republican Doug Elmitz that he's left with only one choice.
It's going to be an easy vote. 4 years of Hillary Clinton is better than 1 day of Donald Trump as president.
Have you ever voted for a Democrat?
Never. I've never voted for a Democrat in my entire life.
This is more than the Never Trump or Stop Trump movement. Elmitz part of Republicans for Hillary. Not just a Twitter hashtag, Elmitz is actively urging prominent Republicans to vote for the Democrats.
Back when you had dark hair.
Yeah, back when I had dark hair, I was
A once
right out of
unthinkable move for a man who worked for President Ronald Reagan through 2 terms as a White House spokesman and then for the Department of Energy, a Republican operative through 4 presidential campaigns, a decades-long consultant to California's Republican Party.
I think Ronald Reagan would be astonished by what has happened. He has managed to hoodwink America into believing that he will lead this country through the fire. I think he will thrust us into the fire.
What has been the reaction among all of your Republican friends?
They think I've lost my mind.
But he's not alone. William Oberdorf, one of the GOP's biggest money contributors, tells CNN if it is Trump versus Clinton and there's no viable third-party candidate, I will be voting for Hillary Clinton. Those who disagree are letting Elmitz have it. From voicemails.
You're a disgusting pig.
I can't even believe you call yourself a decent Republican.
To emails calling him a disgrace and a socialist to simply shame on you. Other Republicans choosing a decidedly different path. House Speaker Paul Ryan and Senator Lindsey Graham thawing on Trump, and Marco Rubio burying his hatchet with a man he once called a con artist.
I want to be helpful. I don't want to be harmful because I don't want Hillary Clinton to be president.
But Trump's harm, argues Elmitz, is already unfolding before the electorate.
These rallies are not a moment in time. If Donald Trump is elected president, you will see these things continue on 4 years beyond.
You believe you're in good company.
I believe I'm in great company. They're just afraid to say that they support Hillary Clinton, but I do think that either they will do it publicly at some point or they'll privately do it in the polling booth. And
We have seen that many Republicans, they're supporting now Mrs. Hillary Clinton, Secretary Clinton. Before we talk about this issue, I would like to welcome Dina Esquivel, the Greater Riverside Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining us. Dina, thank you very much. And we've seen that many people, they don't trust Mr. Trump. People say that's dangerous. And particularly in California, you've seen many protesters. Mr. Santana, what's your take on that? The Republicans supporting Mrs. Clinton?
Well, at one point, I can understand and I can relate to that because there's so many issues that if you have some common sense, some degree of decency, and you don't want to provoke or attack or denigrate anybody in the country, then you have to take that position. Especially, there's people there are people of values, and I respect that. If they're taking that step, I respect that, and I think that's the right thing to do. You have to be and make your analysis and decide whether you're going to support someone at that level. It really compromises your values, and that's where you have to draw the line and say, listen, I cannot go beyond that. It is too much. And I think that DT, Mr. Donald Trump, as
you don't want to call Donald Trump?
Well, he has
You'd rather to call DT.
DT, I think it's better because he has enough.
Sounds like that DTT, like
like ET. Well, I don't know. He might have been touched by an extraterrestrial being or something. I don't know, but I'm happy that still it actually gives me a lot of faith in the country to know that people are going for the values, not just to vote or just for a party.
Mrs. Baca, have you seen that situation also in your community, in the political arena, that Republicans join your movement because you're supporting Mrs. Clinton?
Oh, absolutely. But if you listen to what the Republicans are saying, and you go back, several months, And, you know, the Bush family is called the Republican dynasty, right? I mean, we've had the father and son as presidents. We've had a brother as the governor of Florida. And they're not supporting Donald Trump. They've said, you know, we're not supporting them.
Right.
That means a lot to me. It means a lot to me. And I give them more respect, you know, not because they're Republicans, but because they're leaders in their own party, and they're saying, no, we're not. So I don't know if they're looking for a third-party candidate. I think that that would be more divisive to the already fragmented GOP. So I think that I want to see what's going to happen. I really want to see what's going to happen.
Do you see that's a real leader when they straight what they say about the moral values and they follow what they say and not changing his minds?
Yes, and I've heard, you know, people in my community that say, you know, they're Republicans, you know, they're you know, I'm in the business community, I have a business in Moreno Valley, and they're like, you know, we're not voting for Trump. You know, they'll say that in public. Are they voting for Trump? I don't know. But publicly, they'll say, we're not voting for Trump, and they say it in my presence because they know that he's insulting my community, he's insulting my culture, he's insulting my people. So, you know, we're Americans. We're born here. We came with the land, and he's throwing everybody in there, calling us rapists, thieves, you know.
Criminals, drug dealers.
And why Mexicans?
Talking about endorsing.
Why Mexicans?
One of the leaders that did not want to give their support to Mr. Trump was Paul Ryan, but today he changed his mind and he said, okay, I'm going to support Mr. Trump on November the 4th.
But Marco,
that means that politicians, they can change their mind.
Yeah, that's true. But look, the big corporations, Hewlett Packard announced today that they were not going to invest any money in Donald Trump.
And they do it. They're doing it.
They won't spend the money. They already spent $75,000, but in the previous election they spent over $750,000. And this time, that's it. They stopped it.
And we have seen that kind of movements from the business perspective, and I want to welcome Dina as a part of the Riverside Chamber of Commerce. What have you heard in that agency? What the people voices?
I actually have heard that electing Donald Trump, it's going to be bad news for Wall Street. And one of the people who said that is actually Mark Cuban, who's one of the founders of Cyberdust, you know, multi-billionaire. So even other people that are business owners, they know that the impact that he's going to have in Wall Street is going to be negative for the people that are wealthy. Now, the reason that people are supporting him, it just gives me a sense of they're coming out as thinking that their true feelings, this is how I see it, he's opened up a can of worms for racism. And so when that happens, you know, people feel free to speak their mind, and we have seen it. We have seen all the different discrimination that has been going on because, you know, they feel backed up by Trump. Even in the rallies, right? You have all these fights that come about, and it's all about his supporters and feeling the right entitled to. But I do want to remind everybody that according to the treaty that was done back in the 1846, 1848, a lot of our states here in the United States were Mexican states. So there are people here that were here prior to Donald Trump being here. So people that were in New Mexico, in Utah, Nevada, Arizona, California, and Texas, which are the biggest states, those were Mexican states. So for him to say that every person who's here is an illegal immigrant, even if you were born here just because you're Mexican, then he's completely wrong. Because if you go back to, you know, back in the 1848, and when these states were acquired, then we can see that, you know, we have a right to be here.
Have you seen the opportunity in the Chamber of Commerce where you belong? They have proposed, for example, to create a boycott against that kind of measures by Mr. Trump. For example, if an owner has a gas station, don't go and buy the gas in that place. Have you ever considered that kind of situations?
We haven't gone to that extreme because our chamber is nonprofit, nonpartisan, so we cannot become political. But I know the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce has taken their position, and they are supporting Hillary Clinton. So they voiced that, they made an announcement, they did a press release. So they're not supporting, you know, Republican Party or Donald Trump. For us, we have to, we're limited to providing information, but we cannot go on.
We know that Mr. Trump is facing thousands of lawsuits. According to the USA Today, he's facing like 3,500 lawsuits, and one of them is the Trump University. I'm going to invite you to see this report.
Well, today we're learning about another scam.
Gabino, no hay audio.
So-called Trump University. The New York Attorney General is suing Donald Trump for fraud, and his own employees testified. I want you to hear this. His own employees testified that Trump U, you can't make this up, that Trump U was a fraudulent scheme where Donald Trump enriched himself at the expense of hardworking people. This is just more evidence that Donald Trump himself is a fraud. He is trying to scam America the way he scammed all those people at Trump U. It's important that we recognize what he has done, because that's usually a pretty good indicator of what he will do. And on issue after issue, we see someone who is unqualified and unfit to be President of the United States.
She has said about that he's not qualified for the White House.
Right.
You're supporting Mrs. Clinton.
100%.
And that came to me the question about the trust from Mrs. Clinton, talking about the emails, talking about Benghazi. How did you defend the situation for Mrs. Clinton?
I think that she's a very intelligent woman. She's from an Ivy League school, all-girls school. She's been the First Lady of the United States. She's been the First Lady of Arkansas. She's been the Secretary of State for the nation. I think she's a very intelligent woman, and I think that she knew what she was doing. And for someone to say that what she did was illegal, well, prove it. That's what I say. I believe in our Constitution. I believe in the American way, and you're innocent until proven guilty. And no one has proven that she's done anything wrong. It's all, talk, and until, she's proven guilty, I'm supporting Ms. Clinton.
Do you see like a kind of nasty campaign against her?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's all politically motivated. And when she announced that she was going to, be running for the presidency of the United States, of course, it's people that, especially the Republican Party, that's lodging these complaints. But until someone says that she's guilty, in my eyes, she's the best candidate. And I supported her against Obama. And once Obama, became the nominee for the Democratic Party, I supported him 100%. And I still do. But for this upcoming election in 2016, it's Hillary Clinton. She's my lady.
And the next segment, I'm going to bring somebody that supports Mr. Bernie Sanders.
Okay.
And to try to defend his position about Mr. Sanders. But going back to Mrs. Esquivel, since the point of view that this country will have the first woman as a president, even though you belong to this organization that's apolitic, do you think that would be good for the country as a woman?
I think right now, I think she's the most qualified person to run this country.
But do you think this country is ready for a woman to be the president?
I believe this country is ready for a woman, yes, completely.
Because
100%.
we have seen the Americans think like there's still the too macho men here to control this country.
Yeah, no, that's completely different right now, because we have a lot of women that run large corporations, that are CEOs, and that are very capable. And in my point of view, she is the most capable in running this country.
Even though people say that when Mr. Clinton was the president, she was behind him. That time she was the president. We have to take another break, but I'll be right back. You're watching Foro. This coming Tuesday is a day to go out and vote. It's June 7, a day for the California primaries. Whoever you pick, it's important to vote. It's a right, not a privilege. It's an opportunity to repudiate those ones that doesn't like us. Let's watch this report from the BBC.
Would be bigger and better, of course. Most of the 2,000-mile border is not walled, but this stretch divides California and Mexico, and it seems to be working.
It's like water. They're going to take the path of least resistance, and right now there's a lot of resistance out here. You've got the barriers, you've got the manpower, you have the technology.
Sean Moran has been patrolling here for 2 decades. He's a union man, and his union of 17,000 border agents has come out for Trump.
Mr. Trump seems to be the only candidate that's actually talking about border enforcement and fixing the immigration laws of the United States. It all comes down to this is a country built on the rule of law, and over the past few decades we have carved out entire sections of our immigration laws and just ignored them.
On the other side of the border, they're not quite so keen. It's an ugly message, but you do get the point. Mr. Trump's description of Mexican immigrants as killers and rapists has hardly helped. In Tijuana's markets, they have a wary eye on the superpower next door. Everyone here is asking the same question. Is this guy, Donald Trump, going to win the US presidential election? Rarely has a contest in the neighboring country been followed with such intense interest here in Mexico.
People are worried by everything he's saying about Mexico and Mexicans. We are not criminals. We are nothing like that. We are hardworking people who simply want to find work. It's not true what he's saying. Don't vote for him.
This is another Donald Trump dream. Newly deported migrants. The Republican wants to expel another 11 million. For many, this halfway house in Tijuana is the first taste of Mexico since childhood. Victor lived in Washington State from the ages of 6 to 61.
So what will happen if Donald Trump wins the election?
We're out of the United States. You guys are going to have to work on the fields. Nobody wants to work fields. We all do it. Blacks don't want to do it. Whites don't want to do it.
So what would happen to the economy?
I think the economy is going to go down. They're going to go bankrupt.
As for the wall, Donald Trump says he would force Mexico to pay for it by stopping Mexicans in the US sending money home. Dream on, says the country's former president.
Is Trump going to steal that money? Take it away from them, as he's saying? How can any human being think like that? It's incredible. So it will not happen. Forget it. We're not going to pay for that wall.
On this border, diplomacy, it seems, is dead, as Mexicans make clear that a President Trump would be their worst nightmare.
I have to tell you that we crossed the border a long time ago. We are not here to steal, not to rape anyone. We are here to work hard. And I would like to invite you to go to the Coachella Valley. Right now, there are thousands of Mexicans working in the fields, picking the grapes for only $10 an hour. The temperatures are around 105 degrees. That's the bottom line. That's the message for Mr. Trump. And now I'm going to welcome Blanca Arellano. You support Bernie Sanders. Thank you for joining us, Blanca Arellano.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Mrs. Arellano, why did you decide to support Bernie Sanders?
Because out of the 2 other candidates that we have, I believe he's the one that's really going to deliver all of the right things and promises that this country needs for everyone, not just one population or another, for everyone.
How come he's still in the fight for the Democratic nomination when we had Mrs. Clinton, Secretary Clinton, already won the nomination?
She hasn't won it. California hasn't voted. We haven't voted. We vote June 7th. So, and there's still 5 other states that haven't voted. So how can she win if a lot of people haven't voted? So I think the media has played a very strong role in smearing the numbers and really putting them to her favor when a lot of people haven't voted. At the very beginning of the primary elections, she was shown as the winner and people were still in line to vote. So I don't believe those numbers. The latest polls show that Bernie is just 2 points behind Hillary. So no, she hasn't
What's your
won.
take, Mrs. Baca?
I think that, in my opinion, and I'm biased, I'll admit it, because I'm a Hillary supporter, I think that Mr. Sanders should drop out and support Hillary Clinton so that we have a strong candidate that can beat Donald Trump.
Well, we have seen the Mrs. Dianne Feinstein, the California senator, that he mentioned that to drop out of the race and just leave the way to the Secretary Clinton. Don't you think that's time right now to, or maybe in June the 7th?
No.
What will happen? What will happen in Mr. Sanders next Tuesday? He lost in California. Do you think that he will drop out from the race?
No. He's going to take it all the
But
way to
don't you think that he
convention.
will keep dividing the party?
No, no. If you look at any one of his rallies, if you look when he goes to speak, you're going to see that there's a very large crowd. You're talking thousands of people that come out to support Bernie Sanders. Now, when you look at Hillary's rallies, you see a few hundred.
I've been in both with
Okay.
Mrs. Clinton in Riverside and Mr. Sanders in Cathedral City. But what the difference that I have seen, for example, the followers for Mr. Sanders, they're Jewish people, they're teenagers.
It's
and
the
that
millennials.
the millennials.
Absolutely.
But the millennials, they're asking for free.
No.
They're asking, well, it's what they keep propose. For example, free tuition for college, Medicare free, and then also one of the things that caught my attention was the medical marijuana. He supports medical marijuana, and I say maybe the Jewish people, they're looking for that.
No, no. You know, and I have to say that is a misconception.
Okay.
Consider, if you really hear Bernie Sanders' speeches, he talks about everything. He talks about incarceration, he talks about education, about Social Security, Medicare, health care. He does talk about marijuana along with other issues. There's a lot on the table for him. There's a lot that he wants to change. And simply because there's one thing out of 100 that you don't like, don't discount him. He is here to win. He is here to do right by our country, right by our people. So, no, I disagree.
If he doesn't get the nomination, would you vote for Clinton? Would you support Hillary Clinton?
No.
Why not?
Because I feel that, and a very large group of us, Bernie supporters, feel that he can easily win an independent party.
So you will vote for Donald Trump?
No.
He will abstain for that. And Mrs. Baca, then what you call for? What would be the message from your point of view as a Democrat supporting Clinton to those Bernie supporters that they don't support Mrs. Clinton?
Well, you know, everyone has one vote, and I respect that. I have one vote. I'm voting for Hillary Clinton. So is all my family and my friends. So we're all voting for her because we feel that she's the...
But how come, in case that Mrs. Clinton won the Democratic nomination, don't you see that she will be weak against Mr. Trump?
No, absolutely not. I think she's the one that can beat him. And I believe that...
But one side you're losing those Bernie Sanders
I don't think
supports.
so. I don't believe so. I think that as Democrats, and if you're a true Democrat, for example...
now you're calling true Democrats.
Yes. If you're
because
you're
before
a
you're calling
Democrat,
Democrats, and now you're like a true
It
Republican.
happened to me. I was supporting Secretary of State Clinton against Obama. And when Obama took the nomination, I support Obama.
But now she's calling true Democrats. I mean that you're not a true Democrat.
Well, let me, I am a Democrat as long as
But you're
Bernie
not a true
Sanders,
Democrat.
you know, I think the way that we look at, you know, blue, blue, blue is a little antiquated. Because the reality is times have changed. We're not in the 40s, 50s, 60s. We're not. We're in 2016.
But he talks about ideological revolution, and people blame him like a socialist, bringing all those ideas.
Well,
That makes
Roosevelt was a
sense? Makes
socialist.
sense?
Look at all the beautiful benefits that Roosevelt was able to provide for us. Hoover, those were socialist programs. We have Medicare because of them. We have Social Security because of them. Those were at one point considered socialist programs. Back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, college was free.
But those times that you're talking, we were talking a global movement. Russia, Cuba, that was part of the socialism. Maybe that's why this president didn't have any choice to, instead of going to that
But let
way.
me ask you this. Where would this country be today if we didn't have all of those benefits in place right now?
Where we are right now?
No.
Where we were?
We would be in a much more difficult situation. Consider how long has Social Security been in place and how many lives has it helped? How many lives has it you know, managed to keep up? Tuition was free for a lot of people that are, you know, senior citizens now. Used to be free for baby boomers, and now baby boomers don't want anybody else to benefit.
And it sounds really, really good on paper, But the part I don't like is that when it comes down to who's going to pay for that, if we don't
let
have
me give you the answer, because I really like the answer from Mr. Sanders.
Yes.
Okay.
When he was in Cathedral City, in the middle of the hat, and people, his slogan, feeling the burn, and people was feeling the burn, and people tell how, and I'm going to pay for that free tuition college, and his answer was, if the United States can create a war and spending trillions of dollars, yes, we're going to get the money, and people explode. Is that true?
Right, but we do have, she did mention Hoover and Roosevelt, and we do have, socialist or social programs, and I don't see that, or I haven't heard Hillary Clinton say that she's going to get rid of those programs, that she's going to eliminate those programs. I think that she does support Medi-Cal and Obamacare. She does support that. So I don't think that there would be a change, and I listened to Bernie Sanders, and I think that what's coming out of his mouth is unfunded liabilities. That's what we have. How are we going to pay for it? And that's true. He's one person, and just like Obama, he's one person. You still have Congress. You have Congress. So how, just because you're the president doesn't mean that Congress is going to give you all these freebies. It's not going to happen. Obama wanted immigration reform. He didn't have a Congress to support him. It never happened. So Bernie Sanders
he did have, in the first 2 years, he did have a Democratic support, the Congress and the Senate.
Yes.
Remember that?
But he didn't have the
But
support.
he did not, he wanted the Obamacare.
Yes.
He promised the immigration
Yes.
reform, and
But
he didn't do it.
That's right.
He did not follow.
But he had priorities. There were certain
was
things that were,
Obamacare.
Yes.
I mean,
You did have Obamacare, and he could have done immigration, but
Both.
he did not have the support for that.
that's right.
Now,
I have to question. He's doing a lot of executive orders right now that he's in his last days of term. Why couldn't he have done that earlier? That's one question.
because he wanted the support from the millennials when he got reelected in 2012. He promised the deferred action for the parents, and then that's why he wanted. That's the only reason. But
Yeah.
it's my point that
I mean, there
people
was some strikes. I mean, I
lose
can't say he didn't
trust.
do anything.
No.
There were some strikes.
There
and
were
I
some
think
strikes,
that many
but
people are
maybe at that
benefiting from
time
that.
he did not have other option because the Congress was a Republican at that time.
And as interesting as that is, my concern that Hillary will say the same things. She is promising everything that she can to get elected. However,
But
when
let
it
me
comes
tell you,
down to
let me
doing
ask you,
it,
and sorry
I
for
doubt that she
interrupt you,
do it.
Mrs. Arellano. My question to Mr. Sanders, what has he done in the past? How can he wait too long to say, I'm going to be president? Where has he been before?
Oh,
He
my
has been
goodness.
through all those years,
You know-
seen all those times that happening, and now say, oh, I'm going to give you free tuition, I'm going to do this for the people now?
You know, my favorite thing right now in the internet is YouTube. Because you can Google Bernie Sanders, Senate speeches, Bernie Sanders, laws or conversations, and you will see that for the last 30 years, he has been the only, not one of many or one of few, he has been the only senator to fight for us, the people. He's the only one that's supported our troops, our veterans when they come back. He's the only one that's made an effort to stop Greenspan from allowing this mortgage, meltdown that happened. He's the only one that's really fought for us. He voted against Iraq War, where Hillary voted for it. If you look at their voting records side by side, you're going to see a big difference. The only one that's been fighting for us, this country, is Bernie Sanders for the last 30 years, not Hillary.
Do you hope that after June the 7th, the Democrats got together,
They will.
united?
We always do. At the end of the day, right now we're fighting because, we have, Bernie Sanders as a candidate, we have Hillary Clinton as a candidate. But at the end of the day, we will unite. We did
Absolutely.
it for Hillary Clinton and Obama, and we'll do it again.
CNN has published a report saying that only 33% of Bernie supporters will be supporting Hillary Clinton. The rest of us will not. So consider that. A vote for Hillary is a vote for Trump because Trump cannot beat Bernie. Hillary cannot beat Trump.
Well, now
She will.
there is another party, the Libertarian Party. Gary Johnson won this weekend the nomination. But
Hillary
we're
Clinton's
going to
gonna
talk
win.
about after this break. You're watching Foro Politico. Please stay. I want to mention some of the Latinos that are supporting Mrs. Clinton in California. Some of them, the former Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, the Secretary of the State Alex Padilla, the Congressman Javier Becerra, and the leader of the farm workers, Mrs. Dolores Huerta. And I want to welcome to this segment Roberto Selig. He is a professor from Latin American Studies. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Selig. Tell us in overall about this presidential election before June the 7th, the California primary. In a few seconds, describe what have you seen?
Well, California plays a very important role in this election, in the primary as well as the general. California has 500 delegates to offer to the winner takes all. What it means is that the two contenders from the Democratic Party have to struggle to convince a very not homogeneous population, but at the same time, it prevails something very important. The minorities play a great vast number of the population. And in this case, the Latinos are the most dominant group in California among the Latinos. So that's why you find Bernie Sanders and you find Hillary Clinton battling, and Hillary extending 5 days more her tour in California because she needs to win California. She needs it. She can win New Jersey and get the number of delegates that she requires to win the nomination. But if she doesn't win California by an overwhelming number, it will really come back to haunt her in the sense that she will diminish her capacity as a candidate from the Democratic Party to face the opponent, Mr. Trump.
Do you see that, Mrs.
No, not at all, because in California, Donald Trump, naturally he'll win his delegates because there's no one competing against him. But as far as Hillary and Sanders, I think she'll get more delegates and she'll reach what she needs to become the nominee. And once that happens, Bernie Sanders will support her.
Do you see more Latinos supporting Clinton than Bernie Sanders?
Well, I think right now we're divided, but historically, California has supported the Clintons.
Why?
Because they're the Democratic, like a dynasty. They're someone that have the experience, who the people can relate to, and that have the experience and the support of the people.
Don't you see experience for politicians like a way to keep in power? Doesn't give another chance or another opportunity to have fresh ideas or something different, the establishment that we have already when things looks like the same?
Not in this case. I don't believe that Hillary Clinton is running because she wants the power or because she wants to be in the White House. I think that she feels, and like many other people feel, that she's the most qualified person with experience and support and money to win the nomination. Because you can't run a campaign without money.
Talking about money,
Absolutely.
Mr. Bernie Sanders, he's getting money only from donation from he make it popular $27.
$27.
Every donation.
Every donation
that
on
helps
average.
a democracy.
Absolutely. Now, Hillary Clinton is getting all of her fundraising, the majority of them from super PACs, from oil companies, from Wall Street, from Monsanto. She's getting money from all the corporations that that we say we need to regulate, that she says she's going to regulate, but how can she regulate them if she's taking their money now? It doesn't make sense.
It's been for a long time the way the Washington works, even though the former Republican candidate, Ted Cruz, used to call the Washington Mafia, the Washington Cartel.
Now, and that's why we need Bernie Sanders. He's not taking money from anybody, so he's not friendly with anybody. Nobody is expecting any favors, anything extra from him. If anything, they're afraid. They're afraid that he's going to come in and change things. And that's what we need. We need change. In this time where jobs are so limited, where we have so many international trade agreements, you mentioned the Clintons earlier on. Bill Clinton signed NAFTA into place. I remember when that happened, and they expressed so many jobs coming in, and jobs coming in from the north, and jobs coming in from the south, and where are those jobs? They don't exist. But what was that used for? It was used as a platform to send our jobs out. And that was the beginning of other trade agreements, national trade agreements, where the American people have lost. They haven't gained, they haven't won, they've lost jobs, they lost security, we've lost companies. And what have the wealthy or the top 1%? They've been able to use those trade agreements to send their money offshore. So now we're not getting the taxes from those corporations, we're losing jobs. That's the problem. And that's where the Hillary can't help, because she's in that
Well,
same...
we have to remember, Mrs. Arellano, that before, after Mr. Clinton, we have Mr. Bush in power also.
Right.
We don't have to blame only a
No,
NAFTA
no,
or
no,
Mr.
no.
Clinton, because after we have that recession, that was since 1930,
Right.
and we have to blame some of them. Because the time is running right now, and then I have to just ask you, if you have 30 seconds to do a conclusion, what will happen if we can see the future? What will happen in June the 7th, Mr. Selig? What will be your expectation?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to the program. My last name is Celis.
Celis, sorry.
Not Selig,
sorry.
but Celis. To predict what will happen on the 7th, the Clinton campaign is already predicting that that Sanders is going to capitulate, and that she's going to be heading straight to the general as the official candidate for the Democratic Party. I think that if Bernie Sanders persists, and he manages to actually find a way to get to the convention, he will set up his conditions. And they were considering him offering the vice presidency at a point where he says, I'm focused on California, but after California, anything goes.
Mrs. Arellano, also 30 seconds to say goodbye. What will be your predictions for June the 7th?
I think that Hillary is going to try and obviously take the nomination. I think that Bernie Sanders will contest the outcome, because it is already predicted that she will. And I think he, as he said before, he will take it all the way, and we will be right there to support him.
Mrs. Baca, 30 seconds.
Well, I say that come June 7th, that Mrs. Clinton will be the nominee for the Democratic Party, and I hope that Mr. Sanders is not a spoiler, and that he joins the Democrats and support the candidate, so that we can beat Donald Trump. And that's the only way we're going to do it. Otherwise, we're going to be, divided.
It's going to be an
divided we fall.
It's going to be an exciting night, June the 7th,
Yes.
and I hope you can join us again, Mrs. Baca,
Absolutely.
Mrs. Arellano, Mr. Celis?
Celis.
Celis, with S. Thank you very much.
Celis.
Thank you very much for joining us. On behalf of everybody that makes possible Foro Politico, see you soon and good night.